The secret of this panel is we were going to start 2 minutes late. So thank you, everyone, for your patience. We just have a little bit of tech issues up here, so very much appreciate you. I am your panel host. My name is Alicia Gensch, and I am the Senior Marketing Manager at Fantasy Flight Games, and I am joined by two wonderful human beings who I will let introduce themselves.
You've never heard of me. I am a secret. Hello, my name is Tyler Parrot. I'm the creative lead of Star Wars Unlimited, and, as you will soon learn, one of the primary designers of this set.
Hey everyone, Ryan Serrano, fellow game designer, fellow lead designer of this set, along with Tyler. Also Rules Admiral for you rules heads out there. We've been waiting so long to talk about this set, y'all. I cannot believe we're here.
It's hurt, and now it will stop hurting.
Alrighty, well, let's hop directly into Secrets of Power, assuming that this PowerPoint, hello. I thought we fixed it. Here we go.
Okay.
No, we're going to skip that. Who in this room saw the trailer this morning? Raise your hand, give us a shout. All right.
Wasn't it incredible?
Yeah! It was so good.
The first time I saw it, I literally gasped. It was...
I think back just no notes, amazing. I think that was our comments when we saw it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about both of your roles co-designing this set. Ryan, what was your role working on Secrets of Power?
Well, so actually, I might throw it over to Tyler first, since the idea for the whole set started in a lot of ways with you.
Yeah, so the way that we worked on this set basically can be summed up as, well, actually, I'll take a step back further, which is when we were visioning the second year, we knew what we were going to do for Set 4. We knew what we were going to do for Jump to Lightspeed. We knew what we were going to do for Legends of the Force. But there wasn't a clear thing to do for the third set of the year. And so, since there was this opening, and it was just me and Danny in a room, I said, hey, can I do a intrigue and spy set? And they were like, sure. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And so, from the beginning, I had a very clear vision for what I wanted the gameplay of this set to feel like, what I wanted the theme of this set to be like, and what I wanted the player experience to be playing it. But fortunately, I did not have to do it alone, because that's the segue.
Oh, that's the segue. Okay, gotcha. Thought you were going somewhere with that. Yeah, so then I joined the team, and after a little while, we were all assigned on sets to work on. And I very, very luckily got assigned to work with Tyler on set 6, Secrets of Power. And so I joined in. So we like to think of it as it's Tyler's baby that I helped raise in a lot of ways.
So I had a vision for how I wanted the mechanics to work and what the gameplay to feel like, but a lot of the individual card designs and mechanics and themes and like mechanical sub-themes came from Ryan, because Ryan is really good at executing on ideas. Thank you.
You're good at having ideas.
Dynamic duo. Well, speaking of the theme, Tyler, can you talk about the theme of this set?
Absolutely, I would love to. This is our Spies and Intrigue set. So the tagline that I've been telling people is that this set is about controlling the information. If you look at the two main mechanics, you'll see one of them is about hiding information that you're going to spring on your opponent later, and the other one is about revealing information in order to get an advantage. And at face value, the disclose mechanic is pretty straightforward. It's just, do you have the card in your hand? But when you think a little bit deeper, first of all, that means you had to make sure you had the card in your hand, which means you didn't play it, you didn't resource it. And this is important because I wanted the hand, which is the game's primary hidden zones, to be a thing that you care about in a new way. Because if this is a set about information, about hiding information and trying to gather information that your opponent might want you to have or not want you to have, the hand is where a lot of that happens. So you're going to see a lot more cards that interact with players' hands in this set than in a normal set, because that's where the secrets are. But also, when you disclose a thing, it's not just saying, look, I have this card in my hand because I had to make decisions to make sure it was still there when I needed it. But also, now you're showing information to your opponent, and maybe you can psych them out a little bit. Hey, is this a card I'm going to be playing? Do you need to start playing around this card that I immediately resourced, but you don't know I resourced it? Or maybe I show it to you to say, ha ha ha, this is coming, there's nothing you can do, and then I play it, and there's still nothing you can do. That sucks for you.
And for those of you who may have missed the actual what Disclose is, just to set that for a second, yeah, right. So Disclose is going to be on a variety of abilities, which you can see on one of these cards coming up in just a second. And basically it's going to ask you to, you can see, yeah, Cyril Karn, for instance, which, let's give a shout out to Cyril Karn being in the band.
I guess we'll get to that.
Let's get some Andor content.
Talk about Andor at some point.
Let's do it. One of our most asked for. When are we going to get some Andor cards? Well, how do you say this? But yeah, so you'll see a certain number of aspect symbols that you can disclose from your hand. So that can be, if one card had all those aspect symbols, you could just disclose the one card. You can also do it among multiple cards. So having more cards in your hand, having, you know, some monocolor support as well for, you know, if you have the more aggression cards you're running, the more able you are to trigger things like Cyril Karn here. So that's how Disclose is working, basically. It's going to be aspect focused and cards from your hand. But there's another important hidden zone in the game as well, Tyler.
Yeah, that's the resources. So we had one mechanic, and I tried to explore as much space as I could with what you can do with the cards in your hand and the cards in your opponent's hand. Because obviously, you can't do too much of that or then players stop having fun playing the game. But, good news for us, there's a second hidden zone, and that's your resources. And one of the experiential goals I had for plot was the idea that A, it would be something that you set up early in the game and execute on later in the game, because that's literally how a plot works. Which you get to do by putting it down into your resources on turn one and then playing it later. But also that it would be hidden from your opponent so that you could feel like you were sneaking something past them. And third, I wanted the reveal to be dramatic. And that's where the leader deploy tie-in came from, is that we're taking a moment that's already in the game, that's already dramatic and exciting in the game, and we're saying, how much can we juice this up? How much can we make this moment even more memorable than it usually is? We can say, okay, I deploy my leader, and he's coming with some friends.
And specifically, like, one of the reasons that I love this mechanic as a whole is that so much of the game is built around that leader deploy turn, right? It's a huge, huge moment in the game. It can be a turning point, but also when you're building a deck, you're thinking about your leader, you're thinking about when they're going to deploy, you're thinking about how you want them to affect the board. And I am someone, having played a lot of y'all internally, other designers, who really doesn't like to deploy my leader and then have Rivals Fall happen and then I don't get my leader anymore. And that was what I built my deck around. So what if I got to deploy them with protection? What if I got to deploy them and now it's, you know, skewed in a certain way or it's already immediately accomplishing something? So making sure that that leader deploy, that action that is very particular to Star Wars Unlimited gets to be exciting and fun and interesting is one of the main things that I love about plot. There's a lot of different plots, a lot of different ways to build plots with certain leaders, and it's so exciting to see some of the really cool deploy turns and deploy actions you can have.
And one other thing I wanted to add about plot is that it takes a thing that is a known quantity, which is what your opponent's leader is, and it makes it an unknown quantity. You can no longer count on, well, when my opponent deploys their leader, I know what they're going to be, and I know what they're going to be able to do. Because now, I think somewhere, maybe it's not on this, maybe it's on the internet, there's a simple common plot. It's an upgrade, it gives +3 health. That could just go on any leader now. So now, you can't guarantee that any leader is susceptible to whatever your plan was to defeat them when they come out, because
Take
now,
down.
What's that?
Take down.
Yeah, so like maybe now a Sabine player can protect their leader from takedown because they have this ability to deploy as a 2-8.
How could you do this?
Well, they planned for it.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for a little bit more insight. So I just want to continue to talk more design process, design philosophy, specifically with the two of you working together for the first time as a dynamic duo. So Ryan, could you talk a little bit about the design process for Secrets of Power as it is the final set of the year? And we're also approaching rotation.
Yeah, rotation's coming, y'all. We gotta all prepare for it. We gotta be ready. So, and my cat band's going away, and I gotta have something else to do. So with rotation coming up, specifically with was one of the things that we really wanted to consider and think about in designing Secrets of Power. It's going to be the last time that sets 1 through 3 will be in rotation. We want to make sure that in this set there's a little something for everyone, right? No matter what you like to play, no matter whether you're playing specific trait-based decks, whether you're playing control or aggro or whatever your favorite kind of deck was over the course of the first 2 years, that you have something here. And one of the things that Plot does very effectively for that is give you, no matter what your leader is, here's a bunch of options that you can potentially play around with. But beyond just the mechanics of the set, we also threw in a variety of...
it's like a handful. It's not everyone's going to get 5 new cards, but everyone might get 1 new card.
Yeah, so we looked back over a lot of the archetypes that we saw and things that we saw people responding to really positively, and thought, what if, before rotation, we get a little bit of extra oomph, a little bit of extra options in terms of what you can include there. So that was a huge part of the process for this set, and making sure that was there, and we were thinking about that for sure. But also, this has also got to be post-rotation. We don't have those staples anymore, right? From sets 1 through 3 that have been dominating the meta, and also just the backbones of so many great decks that we've seen out there. And so we have to also put in some cards that are potentially going to be staples for the future. And there's some of those that you'll find in this set. Some of those you'll find post-rotation in some of the other sets. But making that first test of, I remember when we first started building decks and we said, what if we built just post-rotation decks for the first time with this set? Oh, there's some missing holes. There's some things we need to put in here because the game is going to be needing those in certain respects.
There's a card in the set. I'm not going to tell you what it does, but Ryan designed it, and he pitched it as, this is for a cause I believe in, but with more interaction and more interplay between both players. And I was like, that's cool. We're going to put that in the set so that that effect can still be around, right? And so those were the things we were thinking about, of like, we want it to still do a similar thing, but maybe in a new way, or maybe have a slightly different play pattern, so that we can still make sure our fundamentals are there, but not have the exact same pattern of gameplay that we've had for the first year and a half.
Yeah, we've had a lot of, or some of the questions I've gotten a lot is about, reprinting certain cards for rotation, keeping some of the staples around, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit more when we get to talking about the next set, set 7. Which I think we've released the names for those now, right, this morning? Yeah, Lawless Time. Very exciting stuff there, too. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit more then, but know that we have been keeping in mind. And one of the things we want to do is make sure that it's not just exactly the same meta, exactly the same staples you've already seen. Maybe you'll see something familiar, but with a twist, and you'll start to see that coming up on individual cards in Secrets of Power.
Amazing. Okay. Last design question before we start to really get into cards that were revealed this morning. So, Tyler, you being the lead designer on this set, how did you solve for showing kind of soft or like background damage? Leading into that theme of political intrigue, we're seeing a lot of amazing politician type characters, when Star Wars Unlimited at a core is hard or frontline power. We just came off of Legends of the Force, where we're seeing some amazing Force users like Jedi, like Sith, who have amazing lightsaber upgrades, things like that. And so it is a change from that. How did you solve for that from a design perspective?
Yeah, so before I answer that, let's briefly acknowledge what the themes of this set are, like, without the mechanics. This is a set about spies and intrigue, right? So you're going to see a lot of cards from the prequels, which is where a lot of the overtly political machinations happen. Obviously, Chancellor Palpatine and Padme were chosen as some of the most famous intrigue characters from Star Wars. But you're also going to see a lot from Andor, because Andor, of course, is a show about political intrigue. And a lot of the ways that those characters combat each other is not direct, right? You might see Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker do a fight with swords, but you're not going to see Chancellor Palpatine and Padme Amidala fight with swords. So we had to answer the question of, what does power mean in this this set. Obviously, Padme is a 3/8, and so her overt power is low, but she has an ability that can deal lots of extra damage and put it where she wants it, or put it where the player wants it. Whereas Chancellor Palpatine is a 6/8, and I'm just going to tell you now, with all the plots in this set, those are not going to be his final stats when he deploys. But at the same time, this is not Darth Sidious. This is Chancellor Palpatine. So he doesn't have the Force trait, he doesn't have the Sith trait, right? This is not him jumping out of his chair with a lightsaber. This is him scheming in his chair. And so you will still see characters with big stats in this set, but it's not always going to represent their literal physical prowess. Chancellor Palpatine is a 6/8 because he has the power of personality, he has the power of law, and he can leverage those against you in a way that shuts you down, not in a I'm going to physically hurt you way, but in a I will defeat you way, and we're gonna, send you off to somewhere where you can't do anything to hurt me anymore. And so on the one hand, we had to sort of tackle what stats make sense on a character, but also this set intentionally leans into the idea that we're not going to fight each other right away. Something I noticed, and this wasn't even intentional, but something I noticed when we were playtesting the draft format is that it really did feel like the first, 4 rounds were both players setting up the pieces, and they weren't directly fighting each other yet. I'm putting my little dudes out, I'm showing you what is coming, right, with Disclose, or I'm putting down a bunch of plots, and then we're gonna have the big haymaker turns, where the leaders come out and we start playing 7-drops, and the game very quickly goes from, I've been setting all the pieces up, to now we're flipping the table on each other and really going at it. And this also plays into one of the metagame goals that we had for the set, which was to sort of round out the year. I wrote an article about how we wanted to redefine the power level that we were going for in the competitive sphere. And it took 3 sets to sort of execute on that vision. The first set was just to reset the standards for what the power level would be. The second set, which was Legend of the Force, was about establishing the power, but especially the defensive power of the early game. That's where all these 2-cost 2/4s came from in Gunji. Yeah, shout out to Gunji.
And it's an intention to very intentionally push the game more in a mid-range, unit combat focused direction. Not in every deck has to be that, but in a general push.
But there's a missing piece there, which is that if Legend of the Force was about slowing the game down, the early game down, so that you could create these interesting mid-game puzzles, we still want the game to end. So here comes Secrets of Power with its big deploy turns and its big 6 and 7 cost units that have a lot of power, figuratively and literally, to end the game. So this set does have, one of the goals of this set was to feel like the early game was the setup and the late game was the payoff, but that the payoff didn't last very long because the setup had made sure that both players were ready to really go for each other once you get there.
And thinking specifically about, how does an aggro strategy want to end the game? How does a control strategy want to end the game? And pushing, making sure that everyone is trying to end the game and no one, we don't want the game to end, but individual instances of the game should end at some point. If that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Good clarification, especially after we see those next logos. Amazing. Well, thank you both so much. We are going to hop over. I know we've been seeing this, and many of you saw it this morning, but there's a new token unit sitting up there. Who wants to hear more about the spy token?
I'm going to let Tyler talk basically about this exclusively because Tyler cares so much about this spy token.
I've been obsessed with this spy token since I came up with it like 3 years ago. The thing I love about this token, first of all, it's extremely simple. It's just a 0/2 rate 2. At first you're like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, but it does a lot of damage. But when you attack it, it does nothing because you unveiled their cover and now they can't. They're only powerful when you're not looking at them. basically, is the idea, right? But what does this mean for gameplay? Well, it's not a 2-2. It's weaker than a 2-2, obviously, which means we can price it at a lower rate than the 2-2s that you've seen in the past. So something that I really love about the spy token minigame is that the spies can be prolific. You can have lots of them, but you can also just have a bunch of random one-off spy tokens attached to other things that you're not really overcosting the effects for. Things like a cheap event that also makes a spy token incidentally. And then you just end up with these bodies lying around the board that you can attack with. And when you attack with them, they're very good, but if your opponent ever looks at them, then they just kind of fall over. And so there's this question of, well, I can't let my opponent's spy token be there too long, because if a thing they got almost for free deals 6 damage to my base, that's a huge problem. But am I really going to exhaust my 4/4 just to deal with a 0/2? That feels like a waste too. And so it created these like really interesting in-game combat decision puzzles that are very not clear, and you got the very, very funny to me spy versus spy game of we both have a ready spy, and who's going to go after the other one, because whoever gets to attack wins, and the one who doesn't get to attack loses.
And to expand a little bit on that, something that we think about a lot in design is the cost of certain effects, and there are so many times in design where we get to a card where we'll say 4 is too cheap for this card. 5 is too much for this card, but we're only using integers in this game, and there aren't any numbers between 4 and 5. So how do we balance a card that needs to be between that 4 and 5? And things like attaching a spy token to an effect, things like this that give us these little knobs to tweak that aren't exactly a full resource worth of value. Well, I mean, unless you really commit to things. You can obviously, use spy tokens very effectively to make them worth at least a resource. But in terms of costing the effects of that, things like spy tokens make it really easy to sort of fine-tune balance in individual cards, which is a really nice thing to have.
And the design of the token really leans a lot into the theme of spycraft, because, like I said, when you look at the spy, it kind of crumbles, right? It has no power on defense, which means that you have to know what your opponent's priorities are in order to optimally play with and against spies. And I love that part of the game experience. And especially for this set, where knowing or hiding what each player is trying to do is really important. But there's one more thing that's important on this card. You'll notice it has the official trade. That matters a lot.
I'm assuming you don't want to expand on that right now, do you? No? Okay, that's part of the secret of this panel. Amazing. Just to talk a little bit about the products that you'll be seeing with the release of Secrets of Power, we have our amazing friends at Gamegenic who have created these stellar game mats. So you'll be seeing the game mats again, like you saw with Legends of the Force. You'll be seeing those beautiful art sleeves, the soft crates, all of the amazing premium accessories that you've come to expect from Star Wars Unlimited. And
you can't see it all yet, but I'm just going to tell you right now, that Cassian Andor art piece is as cool as you think it is.
Yes, it is. It's beautiful. So, this is just these are not new cards. It's okay. It's okay. We saw these. This is just a screen grab from our trailer earlier. Tyler, Ryan, do you want to call out any specific cards that you're excited to talk or to share with everybody?
Yes, I do. So the full card is available on the website because we have an article. This is Anakin Skywalker, the Secret Husband, which I had so much fun designing. You have no idea. We often do in our Spotlight decks give the Spotlight leader a signature card that calls them out by name. Something that was important to me in the design of this, you can't see its full text, but the Chancellor's shuttle is the equivalent, was that they work with every version of the character. So there were earlier versions of Anakin that said disclose to do a thing, or discard a card to do a thing, which obviously synergizes with Padme because she triggers her ability when you discard a card or when you reveal a card. but I wanted the Anakin to work with both this version of Padme, but also the version from Twilight of the Republic, and also future versions that we make. And so that's why it was mostly focused on doing a generic effect, which is have Ray 2. But the other important feature to him is that the deck, when we were playtesting it, we realized that it was specifically needing more ways to end the game fast. And so it was convenient that Anakin could be that, because Anakin being the secret trump card in the Padme deck is so thematically satisfying. And you'll also notice that, unlike in previous Spotlight decks, the signature cards are units and not upgrades. We do the upgrades a lot. It's very easy when a character has a signature weapon. But for one thing, Palpatine and Padme don't have signature weapons. But for another thing, their power is social. Something that mattered to me a lot in the design of this set, conceptually, especially for a game that is interpersonal. I wanted this set to lean as hard into the human-to-human interaction of the players across the table. I didn't want this to be a set that was just about making my numbers better than your numbers. I really wanted to get into the psychology of the two players sitting at the table, which is why the mechanics are all about sharing and hiding information. But what that means is it provided both an exciting opportunity to expand the concept of what a signature card could be, while also being even more thematic that these characters' signature cards are other people, or I guess in Palpatine's case, a shuttle, that it's not that they themselves are better, but that the people around them are better for them being the leaders, specifically. Anyway, that's my Anakin spiel.
Yeah, if I can jump into my card, you can stop right there. You can go back. It's on that first one. Yeah, there you go, Cad Bane. If you played against me in any of the designer duels, I love Cad Bane. Cad Bane's my favorite. And I want to just address this card really fast because one of my favorite things in the game, and in any card game really, is when I feel cool for pulling off removal. When a card just says, defeat a unit, that's fine, it's good, it works, fantastic. But when I have to work a little bit, and then I pull off the removal, oh, that's so sweet. Oh, it's so nice. And this Cad Bane, as someone who you can defeat a unit with 2 or less remaining HP, I would love to just get my opponent's unit down to 2 or less remaining HP, and then threaten the leader flip, right? One of the things about mechanics and specifically the information sharing that Tyler has not mentioned yet is bluffing, which we tried to work into the set in a number of different ways, but we decided and ultimately came to the conclusion that it inherently exists within Plot and Disclose, the bluffing element, and we didn't really need to add something that focused specifically on that. But I would love to, play, and my opponent knows I have Cad Bane in my deck. They don't know if it's a plot or not, but they know I just put their unit down to 2 HP. So, am I about to, Cad Bane and take out a unit? Am I not? Did I even draw it this game? I don't know, but now they have to play around that if they know what's in my deck. And you'll also notice something about this card in particular, which we're not going to go into super detail on, but when we were originally designing plot cards, we costed them at exactly what that unit would cost, and that was way too good.
Because plot draws you a card, to be clear. You're not playing a card out of your hand to win.
There's an inherent card advantage to plot, so you'll look at some of the plot cards and you'll see, okay, pay 5 for a 4/5 with a conditional defeat effect. That's fine, but it's not exactly, as exciting as I thought it would be. But you have to kind of think about it as almost a 4-drop, because you're getting that card advantage. You're not playing from hand. You can have no cards in hand and still be plotting. So that's something that you want to inherently sort of incorporate into your analysis and your assessment of these plot cards, and then you'll do a better job of assessing it than the people out there that are not hearing me say this. Now you.
Okay, cool. Well, we've shown off a lot. We showed off a lot of things at the Galactic Report, but this is a secret panel.
Alicia, can I hijack the computer real quick?
No, we didn't. No.
What if I showed them your code? New cards. So I said the official trick mattered. Here's Major Partagas.
Oh man, I love this. This is one of my favorite designs.
He's a 2-cost 0/6 with Overwhelm. That's weird.
Yeah. It's not the only low power card that I've put Overwhelm on in my day.
I've seen Major Partagas attack for like 8 damage. It rocks. I also want to call out Marva Andor. Obviously, favorite character. We all love Marva Andor, yes. But there's this set does not have a prominent rebel theme the way that it does have a prominent official theme. But you know, all those set 1 rebels would really love some extra gas. So that's why we made Marva.
And then I'll address the third, Cadel, obviously, we were thinking a lot about what kind of effects you want when you deploy your leader, right? We have protective effects, obviously, if you're worried about something happening to your leader, but we also want to think about, when I deploy my leader, what do I need to have happen immediately, right, when that happens? And one of the things that's great is deploying your leader into a board where your opponent has, a massive stack of experience tokens on a unit. They think that they've got you in check. They think that if you deploy your leader, they're going to be able to take it out. Nope, Cadel comes out too, all those gone, which is great.
And something I like about Cadel as a representative of how plots work, or sort of one of the ways that we design plots, and you can see a little bit of it with Cad Bane too, is the idea that not all the plots some of the plots can be situational and reactive. So the idea is you might not need Cadel, this effect. Maybe your opponent doesn't have a bunch of upgrades, maybe all their upgrades are unique. That's fine. When you put her as a resource, that didn't cost you anything. But once you do put her in as a resource, she's there in case you need her. And so when you deploy your leader, you can decide, well, in this game, this plot that I set up earlier, it's going to pay off. This rocks. But if you don't need her, then you just be like, yes, I set up this plot and I didn't need it. And no one ever knew that I did this in the first place.
And one additional thing I want to touch base on is that, and I know I saw at least one person asking this question, you can have multiple plots. You can have multiple plots that you play with your leader. You can stack them if you want to. And one of the things that is one of the coolest things that experiences I've ever had in a game of Star Wars Unlimited, playing with Secrets of Power, is actually in some cases, in certain games, thinking, am I going to wait a plots? Is that a better action than deploying it right away as soon as I can because it will put me in a better position to win the game in the long term? Am I going to, what plots am I going to put in, but also when is the right moment to deploy my leader? Do I deploy it early in the turn, late in the turn, or even claim and then deploy first action next turn with 2 plots, which you weren't expecting from my 5 deploy leader deploying it on 6. There's a lot of variations to the leader deploy decision that come into play when you have plots there.
And when we designed the plots, we were extremely intentional about varying up the costs of all of them. So you could very easily have a resource row that has a 4, a 5, and a 2. And now am I deploying on 6 or am I deploying on 7? Because if I deploy on 6, I get the 4 and the 2, but if I deploy on 7, then I get the 5 and the 2. And maybe I need one of those cards more than the other. Or maybe I don't. And I have to make that decision and hope it's the right decision.
Amazing. Well, as we start to approach the end of this panel, I have one final question for both of you. What were some of your favorite moments designing this set together? It's right now.
At some point in the future we will talk about it, but this set went through a lot of changes. And a lot of mechanical changes. The themes were always there. And the version of this set that I pitched when it was just me was fundamentally different from what the final version of this is. And I had to go through some serious soul searching at one point to figure out how we were going to execute on the vision of this set that I had. And Ryan's advice and contributions and ideas were invaluable in getting this thing that I had fought so hard, that I had so much personal investment in, that was at the time struggling with its mechanical identity, into what it is now. And what it is now is better than what I pitched. That's the part that's so exciting to me, is that my original idea was good. Thanks to Ryan, the final version is great.
It's gonna be hard to top that. But I'm gonna try. So when I joined the team and I got assigned to this set, I didn't know Tyler that well, but I knew him much as y'all know him, which is likes to be on camera, has a lot of opinions, and generally just a super friendly guy. And through working with him on the set, I got to also learn that he is an absolutely amazing designer. He is so good at being able to look at a card and immediately have a gut reaction and instinct to what that card needs. Maybe not exactly how to get there, but exactly what that card needs. And let's try this thing. And also just an endless fountain of support and encouragement for when you're, a brand new designer on a game and trying to, find your way. And I think a lot of the things that we discovered together working on Set 6 was things that are fundamental to what Star Wars Unlimited is all about. And are lessons that we then got to share with the whole team and helped us, make the game better as a whole going forward. And so when then I was assigned to Set 8, Ashes of the Empire, which is, if you think I'm excited now, when I got a set, and then Tyler was also assigned as a co-lead in that set, we were both ecstatic to have a second set to work on together. And so, 6 and 8 have a lot of through lines. They have a lot of similar design intentions because both of us worked on both of those sets. And I would not have been able to in any way lead Set 8 if I was not co-lead here for Tyler's design on Set 6. So thank you, Tyler.
All right, friends, I think that is all the secrets that we have today, but we just have one final request from all of you. We really want to take a photo. This is the biggest panel any of us...
Selfie time.
Selfie time. Selfie time. What kind? Oh, I'm the shortest one. All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, 7 rows back when he wasn't smiling. Let me do it again.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, so much for hanging out with us and learning a little bit more about secret
Thank you.
power.
Get excited.
If you are curious and want to learn more